same corner. 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So I'm going to go on to the next body hole. So over 1, 2, 3, on to the next one. 1, 2, 3. So I'm at the next corner now. So 1, 2. So sometimes, right, you can see here, I kind of split this one. I didn't get all of it. That's okay. Just pull it through. So there's the second one. 3, and again I'm at the corner, so I gotta chain 2. 1, 2, and I'm gonna go right in here for my next 3 to finish that corner off. So there's 1, 2, 3. So there's the end of that corner, so now I'm gonna again go right back into the middle. So I just go to the next hole and do 3 more double crochet. There's 1, 2, 3. So now I move on to the next hole. You got 1, 2, and 3. And now again we're at the 1, 2, 3, 4th row. So now I'm at the next corner. So I'm just gonna do my corner like normal. There's 1, 2, and 3. Again, I'm at the corner, so I chain 2, 1, 2, and now I turn it and go back into that same hole. 1 for 3 double crochets. So there's the first one, 2, 3. So now, because we're on the 4th row, we're already at the end now. So you've got the next hole after the corner is right here, and that's where we have this chain 2 coming out of. So what that means, to end this row, we're just going to do 2 double crochets in here, and then we'll do that finishing stitch on this with the top of this. So you're going to go yarn over through that hole, yarn over out of it, yarn over through 1, 2, yarn over through both. There's our first double crochet that we're stitching. And do our second, yarn over through the hole, yarn over out of the hole, yarn over through 1, 2, yarn over through both. So like I said, that first chain for the start of the 4th row kind of made this little triangle sort of thing. It kind of jumped over. So we've got 1, 2, and we're just going to go again right here. We're just going to go into the top of where that chain connects to the double crochet. We're going to go through, we're going to go yarn over, back out, and we're just going to pull it through here. So that way you've got 1, 2, 3 here and 1, 2, 3 here. Again, if you mess up and you put a 4th one in one of these, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. This is, the granny square is very forgiving. And as you can see, this is part of why I like multicolored yarn, because then it looks pretty, and I don't have to do any, I don't have to change yarn to make it look pretty. It just does it on its but I have done this. You can do this with plain, just solid colored yarn. I like color, so that's why I like to use multicolored. But you can see it's very simple. This is why I like the granny square as a learning way to do it, because it keeps it simple. You just go through the big holes, the big gaps, so it's less spots to get confused, and it's a lot of repetition of the same stitch. And I like the double crochet more than single crochet personally, because it's bigger, so you have more room to work with and it's not as tight. So there's your 4th row. I'll go ahead, I'll crochet the 5th row around. I might talk some, but just to kind of show you, and then I'll end it at the 5th row. Or actually, I'll end it here. So I'll show you how you can end it. There's a bunch of different ways you can end it. I'll just show you how I like to end it. So that way, when you are making yours, and again, you can make, the nice thing with granny square is you can make it however big or small you want. So if you wanted to make little ones and make like a quilt like I did, it's a lot more work, but it can be pretty. You can decide how many rows you want to do. I think I normally did at least 5 rows, maybe 6 for my granny squares for the quilt I made, but you can make them small and then do what I'm going to do, where I cut it and I tie it off and I kind of weave in the end so it just looks like a nice little square. Or you can do like the first wheel blanket I made after that first quilt I made, where I just did a giant granny square. So basically I did this, I started off like this in the granny square, and then I just kept going and I kept adding rows until it got big enough to be a lap blanket, and I was happy with it. And it keeps it really simple. You don't have to do a bunch of extra stitching. The only thing you might run into, or you will run into, is running out of yarn. So you have this, you can call it a yarn roll. Technically they're called skeins of yarn. But so if you run out of yarn, or occasionally in your ball of yarn, you can also call it a ball of yarn. Sometimes in your ball of yarn, you'll come to a spot where the yarn is broke, or it'll have a knot in it itself. It's no problem. All you do is take the next piece of yarn. I'll show you. Hang on. So if you get to a spot where either the yarn has broken or you get to the end of the ball of yarn and you need to add more, I'm going to simulate that by cutting this. So I'm just going to cut down here. So say I got to the end of my ball of yarn, I ran out of yarn, so I need to get a new one. So all you're going to do is take the first piece and the start of your next piece of yarn, and you're just going to tie them. So I just go over and just do a normal overhand knot, just tie it up and try and tighten it. You don't want to pull it so tight that it breaks again. You just want to tighten it. And then what I like to do is I take my long pieces, I hold them in one side, I take the tails and I kind of hold them out like this, making sure that the knot's right in the middle, and I try and pull them a little bit tight. I'll pull this up closer so you can see it better. So here's the knot, here's the running end, so the long where it's connected to the piece, and this side is connected to the yarn, and these are my 2 tails. You can see here. So I'm just going to hold those 2 tails kind of together and pull them up, and you want to cut close to that knot. You don't want to go so close that it's going to untie the knot, but you want to go close a little bit. You just snip it, and then you can put these in the trash, do whatever you want with them. And then it's got a little extra fluff there, but that's okay. You're just going to work it in. So as you go through crocheting, especially with the double crochet, you might have some spots where the little tufts from this knot are sticking out, but a lot of times it'll get worked into it, and it'll get kind of covered up. So that's how you join if you need to add more yarn, or if the yarn gets broken or, overstretched and it kind of tears, or sometimes the balls of yarn will just have a spot, it's weird, where it breaks, or sometimes when you're going through yarn, it'll have a tie already in it where it had broken. So when I get to those, sometimes I'll trim them down because they'll have more fluff to them, but it's no problem. You just tie it back in and then you just keep going. So, but for how you finish a piece, so when you're done, however big it is, how you want to finish it, I like to give myself a lot of room to work with. So I'm going to cut my tail at least 6 inches. So I'm going to go about 6 inches out, cut it. I'm going to push that off to the side so that it's not distracting. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that yarn over and then pull it through this hole that I had on my hook, or the loop I had on my hook, and I'm just going to pull it all the way through. I'm going to put my hook down, and I'm just going to pull that tight a little bit, So it's kind of like a little knot. And then what you can do here, you don't have to use this whole yarn, but what I like to do, different people do it different ways, it's just what I found, is I'm just gonna go through the top part of each of these loops. So where you've got the V's, I'm gonna go underneath that first V. I'm gonna pull this yarn over my hook, and I'm gonna pull it all the way through to the front. So I'm really just gonna weave it into the ends. So now I'm gonna go from the back side through the next V. I'm gonna pull that yarn over, and I'm gonna pull it all the way through. You can also, if you have like a yarn needle, which is basically just a big sewing needle, it's not as pointy, it's not sharp on the front, you can put it through there and kind of weave it through easier. I like to use less tools, so I just use my yarn hook, or my crochet needle, excuse me, my crochet hook. So I've done that, so I've done this too. Now I'm gonna go through the next one, yarn over, pull it through, and I like to give it a little tug so it loosens up a little bit. You don't have to do that, but that's just something I like to do. So I'm just gonna keep going as far as I want. So I recommend going at least an inch or so. That way you're not as likely to have it pop out. But you can weave this entire thing all the way around the side, or you can just go a bit and then cut it off. But the weaving is just helping it to not unravel. So you're gonna go through, and I just keep going around. And when you get to the part where it's the chains, you can kind of do it. It's a little bit more difficult. So this is also where I'd kind of stop here. But if you have a bigger granny square, if you've gone bigger, when you end in the middle, you're gonna have more space. But so here, I'm just gonna stop right there. So the way I like to do it is I'll cut it a little bit away, and then this is where I really want to do that kind of tug test. I'm not pulling it super tight, but I'm pulling it a little bit, so that way I know. And then I'm gonna pull this part out just a little bit, cut it as close as I can. You want to make sure you don't cut the yarn that you had been working with, so you're only going to cut that tail. So I cut that tail off, and then now give it a little tug so you kind of came out the other side, give it a little bit more of a tug, and it kind of tucks in. Or you can trim it again. So like here, I'm just going to trim it again. It's a little stubborn there. Give it a little baby tug to get it to pull inside there, and there you go. And now your tail from when you started, whether you tried to cover it up or not, if you tried to cover it up and so it's kind of gone